Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica from BehatiLife. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got this question while I was filming a video for our tarot, for the Sacred Circle Tarot School, and I felt that it was so important for me to stop what I was doing and come on here and post this because right now the world is in a little state of chaos. And I want to give guidance and inspiration to those that have children and also those people who are sensitive and empathetic in a lot of ways and are picking up on those vibes that are going on in their world, and then to give them and yourself personal power and the importance of what it is that you're feeling and why it is that you're feeling the way that it is that you do. So right now, currently in the world, there is a lot of chaos, confusion, tension, and violence, and things are happening left and right. It's very much so that you turn on the news and you'll see that something has happened, something has popped off, whether it be a violent terrorist attack or a shooting within a school or something, some level of violence or tension that can make us feel like the world is a negative place. And that is true and that is real, not that the world is a negative or violent place, but that there are these things that have been popping off. Now, if you're an old friend to this channel, then you know that years ago, while I was even building the YouTube channel and even thinking about building the YouTube channel, I had this message that the world was about to have some things popping off. And basically what the vision that I saw was, it was like fireworks, where right before the 4th of July, at least in the United States, there's, if you're like in a neighborhood, a normal neighborhood, the days up to the 4th of July, it's like these little fireworks go off every once in a while in a random person's neighborhood or whatever. And maybe it's because that person is excited to shoot off those fireworks, or maybe it's because they're practicing, whatever the case may be, but it was these things that would pop off. And then as we got closer and closer to the day and that date, 4th of July, they would go off a little more and a little larger. And then the day of the 4th of July celebration, all of the fireworks are going off. And that's essentially what it was. The image that I was getting was, we would see these like popping off events going off in the globe. But then they would become more frequent and more large, or they would get closer and closer and closer to home. Sometimes before, we would see these situations happening and we would see like, oh, it's so far away from us, or, you know, that's not our issue, or that's a totally different culture or a different neighborhood. That doesn't apply to me. But you have to remember, we're all connected. And when there's something happening over there, it's going to happen to us because we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. And energy is always, you know, working together in some way. So I don't want to say this and freak anyone out, but I do want to be honest. And we're in a time right now where there's a lot of transition and change for many people. The ways of the world that used to be can no longer be. And for that, it creates tension. Think about the earth, you know, moving. When the plates of the earth are trying to fit in alignment with each other and try and fit in nice and comfortably, it's not always comfortable. There could be an eruption as those plates, you know, find their way. And maybe they're not going to stay that way forever, but they're moving now. And that's essentially what's happening to our globe right now. There are certain things and certain ways that used to be that can no longer be as we move forward into the future. A lot of people want to call it the apocalypse. A lot of people want to call it the end of times. A lot of people want to call it, you know, the dawn of a new era. Whatever it is that you want to call it, essentially what it is, it's the death of the old and the birth of a new. And the things that need to die, this isn't anything that needs to give us fear or to make us scared, but the things that need to die and be let go of are things that it's time for us to let go of them. But again, anytime where there's change and transition, it's painful. It's not always the easiest. And there's so many different people on the face of this earth that to get on the same wavelength and to all agree on something and to find peace is something that is not easy. It's possible. It's what it is that you're striving towards, but it's not easy. And you'll see that in your own life, that when you are butting heads or trying to find the right balance, that transition phase and stage of your life is a lot of times more painful than it is easy and effortless. So that's something to take into consideration. Remember again that everything is connected. So the things that we see on a global level, we definitely feel here, or in our own neighborhoods, in our own homes, because we're all intertwined. The other thing too is that astrologically, there's this quote, and it's so true. As above, so below. What happens in the cosmos, we feel down here on Earth. The things that happen down here on Earth are impacted directly by the cosmos, and vice versa. So, as the other thing that I want to mention is the fact of the importance of balance within our universe, the importance of balance within our world. And there's always going to be black and white. There's always going to be left and right. It's the polarities that it is that we're working with, negative and positive. We can't look at the positive and say that it's only a good thing. We can't look at the negative and say that it's a bad thing. We can't look at the positive and say that it's a bad thing. We can't look at the negative and say that it's a good thing. It is what it is. We can't have one without the other. That's the beauty of the world and the universe that it is that we live in. We live in polarities. We can't have one without the other. Everything is connected. Everyone needs each other, and everything is there for a reason. So these darker energies, when they show up, they're there to highlight problems. They're there to highlight the shadow self. They're there to highlight the positives. You know what I mean? Without that, we wouldn't have this. And without this, we wouldn't have that. The other thing to be aware of is that the universe works with energy. So when you have a negative energy, then you subsequently have to have a positive energy. If there's a negative, then there's a void, then that's filled with a positive. And if there's a positive and there's a void, then it's filled with a negative. So there's like balance. When you see that there's a certain something that's popping off on this end, then because the universe needs balance, then on the opposite end, we're going to see, I don't want to say energy that's fighting it, but the opposite of that, working to kind of create balance. Now, what I'm saying is that when you see violence, it stimulates within a lot of people sadness, depression, helplessness, but it also stimulates a lot of people to act. When we see that there is, things that we don't agree with or that don't vibe with us, it makes us feel sad, it makes us feel bad, but what we end up doing is we end up feeling more compassionate and more connected to those people who are being targeted or struggling or going through something, and then we ourselves want to be a more positive person because we saw this negative reaction. And that's not something that only you feel. It's every single person, the majority of us, are feeling when we see something popping off, when we see something bad. So basically, what that negative event did was it spurred a lot of people to have a positive reaction to it, meaning that we see someone struggling and we want to help them because we saw that someone was struggling over there being targeted and they did not have help, or they lost their battle, or whatever the case may be. So we then react in a positive way with love and compassion and forgiveness for a lot of people. And it's not just you that feels this. It's all of us. And you act upon that impulse and that place of compassion and love, it sends a vibration out to the rest of the world. And that triggers an effect. And it's like it ripples out. And what's happening now is that more and more people are becoming more enlightened because we know this because more and more people are pushing back and feeling like they have to retract and they feel uncomfortable. And it's important for them to feel uncomfortable, for both sides to feel uncomfortable, because a change is happening, a shift. And in my video years ago, when I made that video, I said you need to be open. If you are not open and if you're not flexible with what God has and the divine has for us, you will get lost and swallowed up. But if you do allow yourself to be open to change and to become your highest and greatest version, and to be compassionate and loving and forgiving and enter into a space of light and love, you'll be so protected and so good and a part of the solution. And a lot of people are finding that the more that they resist this good side, the more that they resist, where it is that they're naturally being drawn to, the more pain and suffering and struggling that is that they feel, because the universe is saying this isn't right. So, and the universe says, come move here. So now, when they move into an alignment, because forcing their way into this old way isn't working anymore, they're actually being pushed onto their personal path of being authentic, living better, feeling better, loving, because it feels better to love than to fight and to hate. So all of this is happening, even though it looks negative on the outside, it's very much a positive. And when you see these negative things happening on the news, on the media, wherever, I don't want people to feel defeated. I want them to feel inspired and to enter into a space of, I am a part of this light that's happening. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at now, to give, to share, to help others, to help myself, and to be in a space of love and to be an example for others. Because in reality, it's not comfortable for us to see our human, friends here on earth to struggle and to suffer. It just doesn't feel human. It doesn't feel good. So when we step into alignment with that love and that light, we shift the vibration simply because we were triggered by that negative event. Now, moving back to, why it is that you feel that way, you're a part of the change. Come on. There's a lot of indigo children, there's a lot of crystal children, there's a lot of rainbow children that are walking this earth, and the new youth that are coming in are highly rebellious, they're highly sensitive, and they're also being bombarded by influences that are not positive, that aren't, building them up. And it's sad to see it, but they'll find their way. And they're way more, you'll see that the youth now are way more open and forgiving and compassionate with each other and accepting of each other than the generations that came before them. And it just keeps on going. Every single generation is changing for the better. So what I say for those that are sensitive and those that are empaths, know that you are very much a part of the change that is happening here on earth, and to honor and listen to your feelings. The foods that you eat, listen to what doesn't feel right. You taking care of yourself and you providing for yourself is going to be a part of the bigger change. If you're not, being in a place of thriving, or if you're paying too much attention to, what others are telling you, what the media is telling you, or whatever the case may be, and you're not listening to yourself, you will get swallowed up. You will, but you'll find your way eventually. So, and for example is food, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of, commercials for foods or alcohol or drugs, and we hear that, we see that. And you'll see that too, because a lot of people need an escape right now. So the thing that they find, because they're so sensitive, they're so overwhelmed, they need to escape from this reality. So they go to drugs, they go to alcohol, and you'll see it all the time, or sex, and they go into that space of trying to release and try to find something deeper, and then quickly they'll find that this is not it. So because they've experienced that, then they gravitate towards what is it, what does feel good, eating healthy, eating clean, becoming a vegetarian, becoming a vegan, operating from a space of love and compassion and patience and understanding, and trying to understand each other instead of trying to fight each other. Also, certain job situations or certain lifestyles. What used to be is no longer, because more and more people are honoring themselves. So basically what I'm saying is that these highly sensitive people, these empaths and sensitives and intuitives that are walking the earth right now, you, me, our children, are picking up on these vibes, and the vibes make us uncomfortable. They show us that something is not right. But the thing that you can do, especially for children right now, is to remind them that they cannot control everything, but they're very important, and their feelings are very important, and their feelings are there for a reason, because they're special. They're special children. And that when they feel that something is off, that maybe things are off, but they can ask you don't want to give them so much power that they feel like they can completely control things, because some things are completely out of our control, and that's real. So when something does pop off, it's not their fault. You don't want them to feel that it's their fault, but you want them to know that they have the power to bring more love and more light in, and that's a part of the reason for them being here. So give them the power to ask and to talk and to communicate with their angels and their guides, to ask for a blessing, to ask for protection, to ask for guidance, to ask to be a beacon of love and light. Give them the power to say, like, look, baby girl, baby boy, when you are your best self, you make a positive impact on the world. And every day strive to be a person of love. Strive to be a person of light. That doesn't mean that you take crap from anyone, because you also have to love yourself. You also have to be, allow your light to shine without being, pushed down and diminished by others. But strive every day to be a good person. Follow your vibes, little one. When something doesn't feel right, know that it's not right. When you need to say something, say it. When you need to be removed from a situation, tell someone or get yourself out of there. If you feel scared, ask the angels. You can communicate with the angels, little one. You can ask the angels for protection and guidance, and they listen to you. Also know that you're never alone, even though you may not physically see it, and you'll know that when you ask your angels and your guides to be with you, you'll feel the change. You'll know that you're not alone, and that you're being protected. And those angels are so filled with love and compassion and light, and they're going to surround you and protect you, and you have nothing to be afraid of. And when it's time for you to listen to your intuition and that inner voice, you'll know when to listen. You have the power. You have more power than you know. There's a lot of adults that are around, or a lot of people in positions of power who may seem like they know everything all the time. But when you follow your vibes, you know intuitively what is right and wrong, and that is power, and you are powerful beyond belief. And let's build that up. Let's build that up. Not only for our little ones, but also for ourselves. Okay? So those feelings that we're feeling, they're very much real. They're very much there for a reason, but we're not hopeless and we're not weak. In fact, we're in a position of really strong power right now. And the more that we become powerful in our love and light, the more that things are going to pop off. But it's going to be okay, because in the end, love always wins. Okay, so be safe. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk soon. Bye.